Okay, I've got here the Gorilla Carts 200 litre poly dump cart as they call it. I did pick this up at Bunnings. I got it as an alternative for a wheelbarrow. It offers more storage. It's on 4 wheels, so it should be a little bit easier to move around. I'm on a very steep incline, so I'm interested to see how this goes. It also has a little like kind of tow bar attachment that will fit onto a ride-on mower and stuff like that, which is really cool because we think we'll be getting kind of a hand-me-down ride-on mower in the future, so this will come in particularly handy there. And then on top of that, it's also got kind of like a dump mechanism. So if you fill it with soil or mulch or whatever, you can then take it to where you need it and just dump it out, which really is good. Let's have a look at what's in the box and the assembly process, and I'll hopefully give you an idea how easy this is. It looks like it should be pretty simple. Having a very, very quick look at the tools required. Obviously this thing up here, totally optional, and the only real role it played was holding down the instructions for me when I was having a glance at them. All you really need is probably 2 13 mils. You'll need, I think for 4 of the bolts, the 2. Everything else is captive. So it's pretty simple. But yeah, 2 13s, obviously a knife for opening everything up. One of these adjustable ones will do the job if you don't have 2 13s, and you'll be good to go. Obviously this is a made in China cart, and as far as the instructions, it looks pretty simple. There's not really a lot to it. We need an M13. According to this, it looks like we need 2 of them, or an adjustable spanner. These wheels, they don't seem to be fully pumped up by the looks of it, but they're a nice heavy duty wheel. That is all one piece there, as you can see. And then we've got our handle. That's the tow bar attachment there, and your handle. And they basically use kind of the same attachment system, just with like a pin, which we've got our dump truck plate kind of mechanism. We've got all of the included bits and pieces, number of bolts all numbered. Looks like they're all galvanized as well, so they should stand up to outside use. And then we get our big 200 litre barrow. So, yeah. Not the heaviest duty plastic, but pretty good, and it is kind of reinforced with the ridges in it. So obviously, importantly, right tool for the job every time. Don't think this thing's going to get any use, as usual, but I've got 2 13s and 1 adjustable. So that should cover everything. And notably, it doesn't actually look like you need more than 1 of those, because these are all kind of captive bolts, which makes it really simple, makes the installation process much easier. You don't need to be doing it from both sides, but we'll see how we go. Okay, so there are some pieces hidden away inside of that big assembly that I showed you before. You can just trim off the pieces or trim off the cable ties and they will come out. We're starting off with that cross bracket, which uses your number 1 bolts. Okay, so you can see here, this is the captive bolt. It is going to go down into here. Obviously, because we've got this flat on the ground, it's not happening right now, but we're going to get them all in place and push them through. And we've got the 4 of those, as you can see. And if we lift this up, there is a bit of swath in the way, but these will be flush once you push them through. Good to go to the other side. Okay, and just to give you an idea of the other side, the underside, this is how it's going to go on. Obviously we need to put the bracket in place, but it's going to be bracket, then washer, then nut, as you can see here, and these are a nylock nut. Again, just to give you a bit of an idea. And here you can see we've got it in place. Time to put those washers and the nuts on. We've got them in place. I have still got this up on the side rather than laying it down, just because I don't want those captive bolts to fall out until I've tightened them up a bit. I'm going to reach through to the other side. This makes life a little easier. We can get that alignment right. Okay, step number 2, we're getting our number 2 bolts out of our packaging there. Interestingly enough, what we do have is a little piece that goes inside there, and then it would appear that this just bolts through. So once again, fairly simple. Okay, and just giving you a look at this little spacer here. So that's our spacer there. It goes in over here. So we'll have the bolt through here, through there, washer, nut. And obviously the same on the other side, holding it down to that bracket, and that is the piece there. So that's it in place there. You can see there is a bit of room. And so hopefully, as you can see here, this is going to roughly, let's say there is a little bit of kind of pushing stuff out to the right size and shape. The alignment is a little bit wonky, but you know, as long as it works, that's not a problem. And obviously there are the bolt here, bolt here, bolt here, bolt here for the 4 mounting points for this. One little trick that I would kind of recommend is you can actually use one of these wheels under the burrow. Particularly as we're sticking stuff on now, that's getting quite heavy, just to get it a little bit off the ground. And long bolt, it does say long in there, which is a nice little feature. You've got to push these through, because as I said, there's a bit of schwaff, or whatever they call it. So we've got those through, and then the short ones from number 3. There and there. This thing is getting a bit heavier now, so we don't push these bolts back through. We'll get the washer and nuts partially threaded. So that way it's not going anywhere. Short bolt, washer, nut. A closer look for you. So a bolt in there, one there, one there, and let's tighten them up. Okay, 4 bolts tightened, obviously 2 like this and then 2 at the back. Let's just check inside. And obviously what I was looking for is these things down here, making sure that they're all flush, because that's obviously what locks the bolts in place. Okay, we're now on to the quite exciting Pimp My Ride section. And I just want to make sure that there are no differences between the wheels. Importantly, you want the little stem to be obviously on the outside so you can access it. Although, I mean, you could turn this thing over, but let's be realistic here. These all look exactly the same. And we've got basically just locking pins, simple stuff, and some washers. And the washers go on the outside, and then the locking pin goes through, and you're good to go. I'll give you a closer look on one of the other ones. Okay, so what you're probably noticing here is a couple of things. Number one, this just lifts straight up. And obviously this is the zero turn system as well. And we just need the plate on here, which I'm assuming, yeah, it locks down into this. And so while you'll still be able to turn it, it'll stop this from just jumping up, which is your, obviously, dumping system. Simply put, we're going to put this handle on. It's a really simple handle. It's just sprung and it just locks over that bit there. And we've got our 4 bolts as well. And just taking a look here, as you can hopefully see, these are captive, and the bolt is going from the inside, and the washer is on the inside as well. Helps if you put it on the right way. Okay, so we got the 4 bolts, 2 up the top, and 2 down the bottom. I haven't tightened them up yet. And importantly, on the inside, you've got your bolt, your washer, and that runs through. So the washer on the inside for these. It's not as elegant as most of the other bolts, but it does the job. Helps to turn the camera on. These have all been tightened up. And obviously because it's captive in the handle on the other side, you're tightening from the inside, only one spanner. And I will say, I'm just using a ratchet spanner here, which does make this whole job much, much easier. Okay, we're not quite done. We've got 1 bolt left in the packaging. You can imagine what that is for. So we've got basically this here. And as you can hopefully tell, that plastic cover, does it stay on? It's a good question. I'm doing this in the opposite orientation as the instructions. So we're running the bolt through. It is, again, captive bolt on this side, although by the looks of it, they've designed it so it can go in either way. Okay, 200 litre dump truck cart, as you can see here, by Gorilla. Pretty simple thing to put together. Obviously, doing the step-by-steps with the video makes me take like 5 times longer than it really should. But you know, 5 to 10 minutes to put this together, as long as you have the tools, and it's a very limited amount of tools, as I've already mentioned. Pretty good build quality, I would say, as well. Fairly rugged, pretty, you know, hard wearing from the looks of it. Obviously, long-term testing is going to prove just how rugged, but it's simple. Looks like it'll do the job. It looks like it'd be fairly easy to replace bits and pieces if you lose any bolts. I would always recommend, after a couple of weeks or a couple of uses, maybe a month of use, just check all those bolts. They did use Nylox, which is nice because it makes it harder for them to come loose. But again, doing a little check in a couple of weeks or a month or two is just going to catch anything that you might not have tightened up well enough in the first place. I'm going to go take this out. I've got a fair bit of waste that I do need to move around. I've got a new compost heap that I've got to build. So this thing's going to be ideal for it, and I will give some initial impressions in a separate video once I've used this a little bit, including how easy it is to basically take up a steep incline with stuff in it, because that's one of the big reasons I did buy this. And yeah, overall, pretty impressed. It is more expensive than a wheelbarrow, but I think it does have a lot more flexibility. There are some real advantages with something like this. And well, as I said, obviously the fact it can connect onto a ride-on mower or something like that is a big advantage for me. It might not be for you, but it is kind of like a cool little feature there as a potential real benefit.